Today, we're taking a close look at the mechanics of, well, getting out of your own way. We're doing a deep dive into the whole philosophy of self-sabotage and, more importantly, how to change that pattern into self-mastery. We're drawing a lot from the insights in Brianna Wiest's work, The Mountain Is You. And our mission for you, as you listen, is to really move past those superficial reasons for your setbacks.
Right.
You know, the job you quit, the diet you gave up on, the relationship you torpedoed. We want to understand the specific internal conflicts, the mindset shifts that actually define that mountain standing between you and the life you want.
And that metaphor of the mountain, that's really where the radical premise of this whole discussion is. The idea is that the mountain is often not some external challenge like, a market crash or just bad luck.
Right.
It's a problem within us. It's this crack in our psychological foundation that you might not see day to day, but it's subtly interfering with almost every long-term goal you set.
So it's internal resistance just dressed up as external difficulty? Exactly. Masquerading as external difficulty.
So, yeah, let's spend our time unpacking that. Let's get into the inherent wisdom here, especially through these nature metaphors that show us how to transform that resistance into, well, true self-mastery.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with a really foundational idea from the source material.
Let's do it.
The idea that life is often working for us, even when it feels like we're just being hit with discomfort, with adversity, with these huge changes, it feels completely counterintuitive.
It absolutely is. I mean, we're all trained to see discomfort as a sign we're on the wrong path.
Right, totally.
But the philosophy here uses these really powerful nature analogies to just flip that script. Take a forest fire, for example.
Okay.
We see the flames, the destruction, and we immediately think catastrophe. But ecologically, a certain intensity of heat is actually essential.
Right.
It opens the seeds of specific pine trees that literally cannot sprout any other way.
Wow, so the description is almost a prerequisite for the next wave of growth.
The pain and the intensity, they're not random. They're the heat needed to activate potential that was just sitting there dormant.
Exactly, and it's not just in those, big dramatic cleansing events. The sources also point out that nature is most fertile at its perimeters.
At its edges.
At its edge states, yeah, where two climates or ecosystems meet and interact. That friction creates these totally unique conditions for new life. And in the same way, we transform most profoundly when we're forced out of our psychological comfort zones.
And we have to regroup, redefine who we are. So that point of internal friction, that's what the source material calls positive disintegration. I think we have to stay on that term for a second because, frankly, it sounds terrifying.
It does. Disintegration just sounds like failure.
Yeah.
But here, it's reframed as this necessary cleansing process. It's when your mind is releasing and renewing its whole self-concept.
So it's an emotional state.
It's a phase of intense, often overwhelming emotional instability. Anxiety, confusion, maybe some existential dread, because the old structures that supported your identity are being deliberately taken apart. It's confusing, but it's required for deep human growth.
Okay, so if that's the process, let's look at the structure that creates the need for it. This brings us right to the origin of the mountain itself.
Right.
Just like a real mountain is formed when two sections of the Earth's crust are forced against one another, your personal mountain comes from coexisting but conflicting needs.
This is the absolute central pillar of the whole argument, and I think a concrete example is probably best here.
Yeah, please.
The conflict is between the conscious part of you, the part that says, I want to be a successful entrepreneur, or I want to be fit, I want a healthy relationship, and the unconscious part of you that holds a different competing belief.
Can you give us a tangible example of that kind of internal civil war?
Absolutely. Let's say consciously you want financial independence. You set goals, apply for jobs, maybe try to start a side business. That's the conscious goal.
Makes sense.
But maybe deep down, you have this unconscious coexisting need for safety and closeness that you associate with your current, less demanding but stable job. And maybe you saw a parent work themselves sick to be successful, so part of you equates ambition with total isolation and burnout.
Ah, so your unconscious need for safety is in a direct fight with your conscious need for fulfillment.
Precisely. And the moment you get close to that big promotion or a successful launch, the unconscious steps in to protect what it thinks is the primary need, safety, connection, by sabotaging the other goal.
So you miss the deadline.
Miss the deadline, you pick a fight with a mentor, you procrastinate until the opportunity is just gone. That internal pressure, the ground pushing against itself, that creates the massive challenge, the metaphorical mountain.
And I think it's so crucial that the source material immediately talks about imperfection here. It reminds you that just because you have this conflict, because there's a mountain in front of you, it's not a sign that you're fundamentally broken.
Not at all. In fact, the whole point of being human is to grow, and growth is only possible because of imperfection. I mean, we see it everywhere, right?
Right.
Species evolve, the universe expands. You can't grow from a place of being static and perfect.
True.
So the fact that you have these fault lines, these conflicts, is not a failure. It's a sign that you're human, and more importantly, it's a sign that you still have this immense, untapped potential. The mountain exists because you haven't finished the work of becoming who you're meant to be.
Okay, so if being imperfect isn't a failure, what does that roadblock actually look like day to day? Because it's rarely just one clear challenge. It could be an addiction or chronic relationship issues or debt, or even just this vague sense of low-grade unhappiness that touches everything.
The key to mastering this process is really differentiating the type of problem you're facing. And the source material makes this fundamental distinction between circumstantial problems and chronic problems.
Okay, let's clarify that.
So when we have a problem that's circumstantial, we're just facing the reality of life. It's a genuinely hard moment. The roof leaks, the car breaks down, you get the flu. These are external things that need problem solving and resilience. They're real, but they don't fundamentally redefine you.
But when we have a problem that's chronic, the ones that just keep recycling through our lives year after year with different faces but the same core conflict.
Then we're facing the reality of ourselves. Exactly. These chronic issues are rarely caused by one big dramatic event. They're usually the result of years spent accumulating these tiny traumas, adaptations, coping mechanisms, all designed to protect those conflicting needs we talked about.
So you developed a behavior like perfectionism or avoidance.
Or self-medication, yeah. And now that behavior has compounded over time and it's created that shaky, unstable foundation.
So what happens when those coping mechanisms finally fail? That sounds like the true moment of reckoning.
That is the breakdown. That's the moment of awakening. The things you relied on to distract you from the core conflict, the busy schedule, the constant spending, they just stop working.
You can't escape it anymore.
You can't. And it feels like hitting absolute rock bottom.
That feeling is terrifying. If I'm listening to this and I feel like I'm at the bottom, how do I know it's a beneficial breakdown, the kind that comes before breakthrough and not just, pure self-destruction?
That's a crucial question. The distinction really, it lies in the awareness. Self-destruction is often mindless, it's reactive, it's aimed at numbing the pain. A positive disintegration, a breakdown, it's marked by a radical increase in awareness, even though it's painful.
Okay.
You're not trying to escape the feeling anymore. You're finally facing the reality of that internal contradiction.
So the reality, according to this, is that the breakdown is the tipping point. It's the implosion before the star becomes a supernova.
It's the moment the fire is hot enough to open the seed. You are finally coming to terms with the chronic structural problem that has existed for a very long time. And that awareness is what connects the internal struggle to the external path.
Right. The mountain is the block, but facing it is the only path to freedom.
It is. The sources describe this powerful chain of discovery that really clarifies this path.
Okay, let's walk through that chain. It starts with the trigger.
Yes, you're at the foot of the mountain because a trigger showed you to your wound. The trigger could be a simple comment, an event, a failure. But it hits that raw nerve of the old unresolved trauma. The wound.
And then what?
Your wound will then show you to your path, meaning the very thing that has been holding you back is the exact lesson you now need to master.
So if your wound is a fear of success, your path is learning to embrace ambition without guilt.
Exactly. The path is the hard work of resolving those conflicting needs.
And that path will ultimately show you to your destiny, meaning your deepest purpose is tied up in the exact obstacle you're trying to overcome.
Precisely. The foot of the mountain, that breaking point, is the entryway to the breakthrough you've spent your entire life waiting for, because it clarifies your true work. It means the old self, the one built around avoiding this conflict, just can't sustain the future life you're trying to build. When you get to this stage, the task isn't about behavioral correction anymore, it's a full-on reinvention, a rebirth. The monumental task is recognizing that the person who got you through the first 20 or 30 years of your life, well, they're just not equipped to carry you onward.
That sounds incredibly difficult. It's not just tweaking a habit, it's a fundamental identity shift. And the source material details a 4-step process for this, which sounds like an internal revolution.
It is an internal revolution because it requires you to surrender your established identity. The task requires 4 actions. The first one is maybe the most symbolic. You have to release your old self into the fire of your vision. You have to willingly let the old patterns and the old identity burn away.
Which goes right back to that fire analogy we started with. The heat is necessary.
It is. And the second step follows from that. You must be willing to think in a way you have never even tried before. If you keep using the same mental framework that created the mountain, you're never going to climb it. This needs genuine mental expansion, questioning beliefs you've held your whole life.
So, if I've always thought success means loneliness, I can't just say success equals happiness. I have to truly think in a way that lets those two coexist.
Exactly. That is true cognitive transformation. And the third step, this one is often the most emotional and maybe the most surprising. You must mourn the loss of your younger self.
Mourn. That sounds counterintuitive. Why would I mourn the part of me that was holding me back?
Because that younger self wasn't just a saboteur. They were a protector. They developed those coping mechanisms to keep you safe from what they saw as threats, failure, loneliness, emotional exposure. You have to acknowledge the service that self provided, thank them for getting you this far, and then honor their passing. If you just try to discard them, your unconscious mind sees it as a betrayal, and the sabotage cycle starts all over again. Mourning brings peace. It allows for a true release.
That makes an incredible amount of sense. It shifts it from self-hatred to compassionate release. So what's the 4th step after the release and the mourning?
You must envision and fully become one with your future self. That heroic version of you that has already climbed the mountain. The goal is to merge your identity with that person. You stop acting as if you are that person. You start acting from the identity of that person. That future self isn't a destination. It's a new operating system.
And to make that climb, this whole monumental task, the sources say you need 3 specific qualities that you have to develop.
Yes, 3 qualities that define the climber. First is agility, which is the ability to pivot and adapt when the path you planned just proves impossible. Second is resilience, the capacity to take a blow, recover quickly, and just keep moving forward without letting the setback define you.
And the third, which seems to tie it all together, is self-understanding.
Absolutely. You cannot master what you don't understand. Self-understanding means being perpetually curious about your triggers, the nature of your wounds, and especially the specifics of your conflicting needs. It's the ongoing work of introspection. The task itself is described as silent, simple, and yet monumental, because it requires you to change completely, never to be the same again. And if we connect this all back to the bigger picture, the mountain in front of you isn't some random obstacle or a curse. It is the calling of your life. It's the perfect distillation of the work you were meant to do here, and your path is finally made clear because of it.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, right now? The ultimate takeaway from this deep dive is that the goal isn't mastering the external obstacle, the weight, the job, the relationship. The true lasting goal is mastering the internal self.
And the material offers this really profound reassurance. One day, the mountain will be behind you. But who you become in the process of getting over it, the agility, the resilience, the clarity, that will stay with you forever.
It's about identity, not just achievement.
Exactly. The breakthrough is the new person you discover on the other side.
And this task in front of you, this process of silent, simple, and monumental change, it's a feat most people, sadly, never get to the point of even attempting. They stay at the foot of the mountain, fighting the surface problems, instead of acknowledging the conflicting needs beneath it all.
So maybe reflect on those coexisting needs in your own life. Try to identify the contradiction that's creating your unique friction.
And that leads to our final provocative thought for you to carry forward. Knowing that your future self is already on the other side of this climb, what is the one single small step that version of you is waiting for you to take right now to begin the process of positive disintegration?
Until next time, keep digging, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the only place true change can begin, within yourself.